Hey. Good evening, everyone. For some reason, my live stream from earlier has disappeared, and I don't know exactly what happened, but it was a long live stream, maybe 36 minutes, and I felt it was a good message. It was a necessary message, and now we don't see it anymore. So I don't know if Facebook deleted it. Usually if they do, they send you a notification. Why? I don't know if it's because they're changing the interface of the platform, but it was there and now it has disappeared. So what I wanted to do is share the message with you again because I felt it was so important for the situation. It was relevant for the situation we're going through right now. And I think that it could potentially help a lot of people. So if you allow me, really briefly, I want to go over why it's critical to stop being hard on yourself. I feel that this is one of my problems, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do to handle that problem. Heather, thank you for joining us. Share this video now if you can. It's totally free of charge. That way we can reach more people. All right. So being hard on yourself, often people who are hard on themselves, they feel they're not good at anything, or they're not good enough because they have very, very high standards, right? And very, very high expectations. So I'm one of those people. At least I used to be one of those people. Now I'm changing. I'm developing to another version of me, right? And I wanted to share with you because I feel that a lot of people are going through this. Being a top producer for many years kept me in that primitive state of constantly being hungry, hustle hard, and state of uncertainty, which created anxiety. But I liked the anxiety, and I liked being uncertain, and I liked hunting, and I created these very high standards for myself. So I'm very good at self-criticism, right? And generally such people are dissatisfied with themselves because of the high standards that we carry, and a lot of times that will play the opposite effect on your confidence. So usually people like us are confident, but the more we are hard on ourselves, the more we lose our confidence. And here's how this is actually counterintuitive to us. When we are too hard on ourselves, poor esteem shows up, not self-esteem, not high self-esteem, but the opposite. So it actually works against our confidence. A lot of negative self-judgment starts to appear, and we become judgmental of ourselves. A lot of self-criticism starts. I'm very good at criticizing myself. I don't need anybody else. There's nothing somebody else could tell me that would be worse than what I could tell myself. So if you find a little similarities with yourself here, listen to this message, and by the end of the video I'm gonna give you some tips on how you can handle that. So if you are suffering from poor self-esteem, negative self-judgment, and if you criticize yourself hardcore more than anybody else does, then listen to this message. This message is for you. And if you feel that some people are struggling with this, share the message so they could listen to it as well. Self-punishment. Do you ever punish yourself when you don't feel as productive or as successful as you could be? That is a trait of people who are too hard on themselves. Self-blame, blaming yourself for everything is good. It's good to take ownership. It's good to take responsibility. But at some point, when you cross the line and you blame yourself for everything, it could become counterproductive and counterintuitive. Dwelling on flaws instead of focusing on our strengths could be the reason. Bengate the third, how are you? Craig Settles, thank you for joining me. Dwelling on our flaws could be counterproductive, and it's usually a trait of people who are too hard on themselves. So in this situation that we're in right now with the coronavirus, where we don't have much control, it is critical for us to stop being so hard on ourselves. In normal circumstances, we have about 10% control over what's going on in the world, and right now we have less than 10%. It's less than 10%. So it's critical. It's critical to be completely invested in ourselves in a positive way, not in a critical way. Okay? So self-dissatisfaction will never encourage us to continue to move forward. It will never have a positive effect on our being or on our journey. So we need to immediately stop criticizing ourselves and punish ourselves and blame ourselves. So what I'm trying to tell you is, we have to change the perspective and become our biggest cheerleader, become our raving fan, and be the biggest fan of ourselves. Okay, expect criticism from others, but not from ourselves. Okay, when you don't feel good enough about yourself, your self-doubt can get in the way of connecting and interacting with other people. I know that we're doing the social distancing right now, but we definitely didn't need social distancing. As a matter of fact, we needed to come closer together because social media was creating that distance anyways. So find a way to be social even during the social distancing, right? Because a lot of times when you don't feel good enough, you're gonna avoid being social, even on social media. I know there's a lot of girls right now and ladies that haven't visited their hairstylist in a couple of weeks, and they don't feel comfortable, going on social media or continuing communicating with people through video, which is one of the most common ways of doing business right now. I mean, we're going to be forced to adapt. We're going to be forced to change things. We're going to be forced to rebuild our business models because of the coronavirus. So coronavirus is actually an opportunity to rethink what our priorities are and what our true purpose and what our passion is. So it's a good thing to focus on the positive. But what makes it really critical and what we can control is our internal conversation with our mind, right? This is so important, and you could find traits of being too hard on yourself if your conversation with yourself is too pessimistic. If your mind is too negative, then that is a definite sign of you being too hard on yourself. So just be aware of your mind. It's a subject-object relationship, okay? Your mind is not who you truly are. If you can hear your thoughts, if you can control your thoughts, that means it's not really you, because you are an observer. So make sure that you understand that it's important to control what's going on in your mind by understanding that not every negative thought comes from you, and you don't have to act on each and every negative thought, and you don't have to believe each pessimistic thought that comes to your mind. But what you can control is not let that control what you do with your body and what you do, period. So become more vulnerable and emotional. Give me just 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Hey, I'm back. What's going on? So we were going over the reasons why it's important to stop being so hard on yourself. Obviously, it will lead to poor esteem, it will lead to negative self-judgment, it will lead to self-criticism, self-blame, and dwelling on the flaws. So we don't want to dwell on our flaws, we want to focus on our strengths. In these times of uncertainty, it's critical as leaders to be strong for the people who are counting on us. It's critical to be positive, to be inspiring, to be optimistic in times where everybody is afraid. So self-dissatisfaction will never encourage us to keep going and to keep leading. It will never help us to push through. When we have unrealistic expectations, we will be disappointed most of the time. And expectations is a dangerous thing, because sometimes we have expectations from other people, and that's how we get disappointed. And sometimes we have very high expectations of ourselves, especially when we're too hard on ourselves, and we could never satisfy ourselves. And that's a dangerous game to play, right? So the internal conversation is extremely important. So how can you stop being hard on yourself? How can you stop being hard on yourself? Thanks for joining us, Jeff, Ariane, what's going on? How you doing? And Alex, what's up? Max, what's going on? Jimmy, Bugsy, how you doing? Eric. So how can you stop being so hard on yourself? I'm going to give you a few tips right now, things that I started implementing in my life and are definitely helpful, and I think will be able to help you. Okay, so the first thing is to focus that we must empower ourselves. Okay, we must take the power back. And that means treat ourselves with respect and be reasonable, right? Think about this. If you have kids, try to love yourself the same way you love your child, right? Sometimes you're gonna let your child off the hook. Sometimes you're gonna just you're not going to be so hard on your child. So do those things for yourself once in a while, or most of the time. So give yourself respect and see how you can feel the difference. Self-love is great, but self-respect, so important. Self-respect, focus on that. So accept your mistakes and failures. This is the first tip on how you could stop being so hard on yourself. Just accept the mistakes. The way I look at mistakes is just learning experience, right? So accept that you sucked at some point. Accept that you failed. Accept that you've made a mistake. Learn from it. Learn what is it that you're not going to repeat. What is it that was a learning experience? What did you extract as a learning experience? What can you now make sure becomes one of your core values so you don't get into that situation ever again, right? So accept your mistakes. As human beings, we all make mistakes, and no one is perfect, right? So if you commit any mistakes, it's a learning experience, and it will only lead to anxiety and stress if you focus on those mistakes from the past, right? So the second thing I want to talk to you about is control. And like I said earlier, we cannot control everything. We can only control probably 5% of our lives. We can influence maybe another 5%, but the other 90% we have no control. Especially now, we have zero control. And if somebody's telling you they know what's going to happen, hey Paul, nice to see you, brother. Thank you so much for your inspiration. You're one of my heroes. So, we can hardly control our personal lives, what's left for what's going on in the world, right? So we can control our effort, we can control our attitude, we can control our response to this, and we can focus on what we can control and stop thinking about what we can't control. Right, we can't control when the sports are going to come back or when we're going to go back to normal. We can't control that, but we can control. Maria, how you doing? We can control everything else, right? Our attitude, our appearance, we can control that. So uh, focus on the positives. You know, the way I look at this, I'm actually thankful for the coronavirus because it allowed me with precious time that I felt in the past before the coronavirus I didn't have or I couldn't commit to. So now I have plenty of time for building new content. I've got plenty of time to really dig deep in myself and plenty of time for self-awareness. What's up, Sam? How you doing, Corey? Let's go, champions. I have plenty of time to spend with my family. So I think we got to look at this as an opportunity for us to reset. So look at this in a positive way. You know, when you're too hard on yourself, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to focus on the positive things. For example, have you ever been super successful in your business, in your career, in your profession, and you had a very big event in your life, like a core memory, let's say your kid's graduation or your brother's wedding or something like that, and you just didn't feel present enough for that moment? That's what I'm talking about. When you're too hard on yourself, when you can't turn it off, and trust me, I'm faulty of that. When you can't turn it off, you are missing out on huge memories, on big core memories of your life, and you're not present for the journey, and it's very, very, very difficult. So in order to focus on the positives, you have to stop being so hard on yourself. Okay? And when it's time for a break, take a break. Take time out in a day to focus on the things you like about yourself. As a matter of fact, schedule time, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour per day, and write down the things on a piece of paper that you like about yourself, the things that you love about yourself, the things that make you feel good, the things that bring you confidence, right? And also write down the things that, like big wins in the past. Thank you, Elsa. Something happened to my previous live stream, so I had to do this again. So focus on those positive things about yourself and the things that you've done well, all of your wins. Sometimes just by remembering something that you've done in the past is enough courage to try something again. And you could be thinking, man, if I did that, if I overcame that, then this is a no-brainer. So write it down, put it in a journal, call it whatever, gratitude book, whatever you want to call it. And as you start using this tool, you're going to, just by looking at the book, just by reaching towards the book, you're gonna go into that state of gratitude. And here's a little secret: while you're in that state, while you feel good about yourself, while you feel confident, while you feel good about the things you've done in the past, your wins in the past, you could not be in a state of being too hard on yourself. So this is one way to make sure you're not in that state, by going into that gratitude book. The next tip is to stop comparing yourself. Okay, comparison is one of the things that robs you from those positive moments, right? Let's say you have a huge success professionally, and your competition has a little bit bigger success. They earn $100 more in sales, or $100,000 more in sales, or they get bigger bonus or something like that. That could kill your success. That could kill your development because you're focusing on what they're doing. So stop comparing yourself. I think this is a good time right now because social media is going to expose who's real and who's not. So you're going to see a lot of people that were flashing with Lambos and were living the good life, losing their assets right now because they never had them, right? So this is going to be a good time, and I think social media is going to slow down with all of those super success stories, right? Comparing is one of the number one reasons for self-sabotage. We got to stop comparing ourselves to our competition or anybody else, because you are unique in your own way. I'm unique in my own way, and that's something that really matters. And you can't be anyone else's, and vice versa. Nobody else can be you. So I know it's a cliche, but you gotta accept yourself and be who you are and keep that focus on yourself, regardless of how others are doing in comparison to you. If others are doing better now, it doesn't mean they're going to be doing better tomorrow. Some of those guys that were flashing money in the camera and were talking about huge success and billions of dollars right now are going nuts, and they're losing a lot, and they're in panic mode. So I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a lot of those gurus out there that are in panic mode, right? So stop comparing yourself, enjoy yourself, figure out why you like yourself, and double down on that. Number 5, my next tip is constructive criticism. So I want to give you a little different perspective on criticism. Self-criticism is bad. I don't actually like any form of criticism. I like encouragement. Courage is my word, right? So self-criticism is probably the worst version of criticism. But constructive criticism from others, if it's someone that you respect and trust, and if it really hurts, it means it's hitting right in the bullseye. It's hitting right in the heart. And if it's something that doesn't bother you, it's probably not true. So it's so critically important to make sure that you're able to be open to constructive criticism. And when somebody criticizes you in a constructive way, to be able to take measurements and to take steps of developing yourself. But self-criticism is self-destructive, and 99% of the time is not necessary. So stop the self-criticism and open the door, at least crack the door open for a little bit of constructive criticism, because we have something as human beings called blind spot. And success is a terrible teacher. It's a lousy teacher. When we're successful, things are going well, and we're not aware of our blind spot. But there are other people who care about us, who love us, and want us to see us in becoming our best versions, who sometimes would give us constructive criticism. And if it hurts, if it hurts emotionally, it means it's right there where we need to be investing right now. So it's a good time right now to reach out to people. If you are wondering, what should I invest in? How can I develop myself during those times of coronavirus, when time is on our side? Ask people you love and trust to give you constructive criticism, what they think you need to focus on and invest in, and try to open the door for it. And the next tip is treat yourself good. Treat yourself good. Pamper yourself a little bit. You deserve it. So learn to love yourself and treat yourself good no matter what. The reason why is because you have to give yourself permission to grow. And if you don't treat yourself good, you don't really give yourself that permission. If you're too hard on yourself, beat yourself down, you don't see your overall self-worth in abundance, and you don't really nurture yourself as a person if you don't treat yourself good. So you need to nurture yourself and take care of yourself better than anybody else in the world, in order to be able to take care of others. Does that make sense? Because we always get it backwards. We feel that we need to sacrifice ourselves for others, but the lion always eats first. I mean, this is just the rules of the lion's family. The king always eats first. The king always takes care of himself first so he can take care of the family, right? If the king is gone, then the family is destroyed. So as a leader, you have to treat yourself good. Stop being so hard on yourself. Treat yourself good. Pamper yourself a little bit, right? And then we talked a little bit about going into the past and figuring out what you did right. What did you do good? What is something that you're actually happy about? What are some traits that you have that you feel good about? What is something that you love about yourself? What are some wins in the past? So go to the past only for those things. Don't go to the past to make yourself weak. Your past regrets can stop you from moving on in your life. They can freeze you. They can sabotage you. So If you've done something wrong, try to repent, improve yourself by learning from the past mistakes. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And you can recall those past events. You can write them down and figure out, what is my learning experience, what will change my core values from this moment on, and what will I make sure never happen again, right? What can I do to make sure I don't make the same mistake again? So try to know how to get those things fixed. And if it isn't possible, just let go of that torture, because if you keep going back to your past, that's just a very strong form of depression. So don't let your past makes you weak. Okay, go to your past only for the wins, only for the positive. Here are some reasons, results. Only for positive reasons. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I don't know what happened to the previous live stream. I know it was way longer than this one, so I wanted to real quick give you some words of hope, some words of wisdom, some words of inspiration to really stop being so hard on yourself. This is not a moment where you could afford that. You need to be the best version of yourself right now. You need to be the strongest version of yourself right now. You need to be an inspiration to others. This is a temporary situation that we can easily handle. We've handled a lot worse than that. We need to stay positive. We need to stay focused. There's nothing to be afraid of. The way I look at that is, our life is going to change. We're going to have our lives before the coronavirus and after the coronavirus. So this is a great opportunity for a fresh start to many of us. It's a great opportunity to rethink what our purpose is, what our passion is. And when we combine those two, success and profit is inevitable. So thank you for watching. Heather Golden, thank you for joining us. Also, Ken, what's up? Thank you guys. Share this stream. Scott, Ahmad, Richie, Eddie Stefan, what's going on? Lee, Diane, thank you guys. Maria, thank you for joining. Corey, Vane, Corey, Sam, Dimitar, what's going on? Yeah, share this stream, Lily. Share this stream with those that need to hear this, okay? Stop being so hard on yourself. I'm not saying totally let loose, you still need to take responsibilities. There is a sweet spot though, and you can recognize it based on the symptoms I just shared with you in this video. So thank you for watching. Make it a great night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.